it is a fundamental shift in the ability to have AI agents literally perform the work that used to take, human people to do. And so I think that we are standing on the precipice of something that I myself and my husband really try to think through, like, where is this leading us? What does the next phase look like? And it's so hard on this side of it to see where I think this is going to go. But I 100% know that the legal industry is about to be upended.
Hi, and welcome to Main Street AI, the podcast where traditional businesses are quietly revolutionizing their operations with artificial intelligence and winning. In this podcast, I sit down with industry leaders from law firms and professional services and other Main Street businesses to explore their AI journey. We dive into the opportunities they see, the challenges they're navigating, and the real impact of AI on their industries. Whether you're AI curious or ready to implement, this show brings you insights from leaders who are actually using this technology to serve customers better, empower employees, and drive profitable growth. Amanda Butler Schley is the managing partner of Business Law Group, a boutique corporate and business law firm in New Orleans that specializes in guiding growth stage companies through the legal complexities of scaling. She works with clients in hospitality and retail, helping them navigate everything from employment law and commercial leasing to trademark protection and M&A exits. What makes Amanda especially compelling for this show is that she's not just advising entrepreneurs on how to build smarter businesses, she's actively doing it herself, running a lean 3-person firm and deploying a full agentic AI C-suite to run her own marketing, finance, and strategy functions. In this conversation, we dig into what proactive legal counsel actually means for growing companies, how Amanda's using Claude agents to get CFO and CMO level intelligence on demand, and why she believes the legal industry is standing on the edge of something that most lawyers haven't even begun to prepare for. Let's dive in. Hi, welcome back to the Main Street AI podcast. This is Stephen Whittier with Satori Coach IO, and today I'm joined by Amanda Butler Schley of Business Law Group. Amanda, thanks for joining.
Hi, Stephen. Thanks for having me on.
Great to have you. So go ahead and tell us what you do from a high level overview of your firm and all your practice areas.
Sure. I am a managing partner of Business Law Group, which is a boutique business and corporate law practice here in New Orleans, Louisiana. We advise growth stage clients that are navigating usually the hospitality or retail space, and which is a huge industry here in New Orleans with our food culture. I have helped the Ruby Slipper, for example, is one of our largest clients, and I've helped them grow from 2 locations to 26 at our last count. And so we are really poised to understand kind of that growth stage, the legal pitfalls and challenges that companies have during that growth stage. We are a small firm. It is myself, an associate, and a paralegal. And so we are a small but mighty team. And I think that that's what makes us pretty unique in our market because, most of the firms here are larger, more standard, large corporate firms. We are really for that stage of a client that doesn't have the resources yet to bring on a full-time corporate counsel in-house, but are really in that stage where they still need some legal advice on a regular basis and somebody double checking that compliance is happening, that things are being done properly so that you don't end up with some huge problem down the road. And typically that occurs in one of several areas. The biggest for a growth stage client is almost always going to relate to their employees. And so employment law is a huge practice area. We advise you on handbooks and having the right template for employees that you're onboarding, and then advising to the extent that you end up with an EEOC charge or any sort of complaints from employees and how to manage that. Other than employment law, the second biggest area that we find growth stage clients to be really in need of us is in commercial leasing. So as they bring on more and more locations, a lawyer really needs to review that commercial lease because the lease is what ultimately generates significant value in the long term. So real estate and commercial leasing is another huge area. We also do entity structuring and advisement. When is the best time to make an S Corp election? What are the strategies that you can use when you have an S Corp structure? And then just making sure that you're being in compliance with the laws surrounding having an S Corp corporation. What else? We do trademarking. That's another huge area that we want to make sure is locked down. All of your intellectual property is a huge source of value for that growing business, and protecting it should be one of the first things that you do when you start proving product market fit. And finally, mergers and acquisitions. The best part of any business owner's life is they say is like the day when you started and the day when you sell. An exit is a huge and monumental accomplishment. We understand what that means for our clients. We've helped clients put millions of dollars in the bank as a result of successful exits or a merger and acquisition deal. And so we understand what it takes to get through a due diligence phase and what needs to look right and be properly documented in order to pass due diligence and provide a successful exit. So that's a small piece. We do a little bit of everything, which I know is not always, what people expect. People love, niche practices, but we are not. We really are generalists. We have a whole understanding and know when it's best to use us and when it's best to find somebody who does niche down further.
Great. One of the things you mentioned was, you said in multiple capacities there is advisory or advising. And I find that's such an important part. What are some things that people you work with maybe underestimate or misunderstand about the work that you do, and maybe you'd want them to know about proactively?
I think being proactive is the biggest pitfall. So many entrepreneurs are accustomed, especially prior to that growth phase. They've been in a risk, full on risk taking risk. They've done everything that they need to do to get from point A to point B, and they have done it with as little resources as possible. And so they are in a mindset in which they think they can do it themselves. And so we get DIY founders who haven't gotten out of that mindset and into the mindset that DIY is fine when you have nothing to protect. But when you have developed a concept that is, an ATM, you need to be protecting it. You need to be ensuring that you're not going to have an issue that ultimately takes down the entire company. And we've seen that happen. I mean, it happens regularly and often where one mistake many years ago leads to litigation that ultimately ends up destroying or bringing down the company. And so having proactive legal advice as opposed to reactive legal advice is the thing that I wish clients would understand. Unfortunately, they just don't. And I can say it here until I'm blue in the face, but I met with 2 potential clients last week in which they had come to me because there's threat of litigation, and and I said I don't think that this is that big of a deal, but I do think it's a bigger deal that we kind of drill down and look at some of these other underlying issues and the contracts themselves. And neither have signed up with us yet because I think they were just reactive and reacting to this immediate threat that they saw in front of them and not realizing that, well, this is just one threat. But if you're not really using the advice of counsel as a whole look to your business, you're really missing the boat. And that's what I see often, time and time again, is just it sounds great, but when they think about another expense or having to spend more money, they're still in that DIY mindset.
Yeah, that's a great point and great advice, honestly, for anybody hearing this. I can relate, I've been in that stage, absolutely, where you're like, hiring an attorney equals expense, as opposed to thinking, well, it's also it's also strategy, it's advice, it's insurance against things that could be much more costly than the hire. So
Yes.
absolutely
And
right.
so many founders that have gotten the company, from zero to wherever point there are, typically when they're coming to me, it's somewhere north of $1 million in gross.
Mm-hmm.
But so many founders that have taken the company from zero to $1 million, they didn't do it with legal counsel before. And so they don't think that they need it now. And that's just a fundamental misunderstanding that, first of all, being a founder is a lonely place to be.
Mm-hmm.
And bouncing ideas off of your employees is also not the best strategy. You really need the advice of somebody who's seeing what's happening across industries on a legal scale. But I'm fortunate enough to be counsel to so many different companies that I know issues that are happening before founders know it, because I represent 50 other clients that are in similar situations. I know if they have a high likelihood of getting sued for an uncompliant ADA issue with their website, because 3 have been sued and we're currently advising on that front. And so it's important for all of our other clients to know, this is an issue. That's the type of early warning system that you get when you have a lawyer who is looking at just generally some trends that we're seeing across the board that pop up for clients in this kind of stage.
That's so true. Also, just to throw in there, to your point that you made first about they're so founders, entrepreneurs are so used to going it alone that the skills that they will often underestimate the degree or extent to which the skills that got you bootstrapped to $1 million are not the same skills and competencies that will take you from 1 to 5 or 100%. From 1 to 10. They're different skills, and that's where having leverage like expertise that you bring to the table is so crucial. So
that's exactly.
I will swing over to our kind of core concept here, which is around the emerging technology, the AI. We were chatting a little bit before we went live, and talk to me about what you're seeing for the trends in the industry, how you're thinking about AI currently.
I mean, I think AI is about to revolutionize not only the legal industry, but every industry across the globe. It is a fundamental shift in the ability to have AI agents literally perform the work that used to take, human people to do. And so I think that we are standing on the precipice of something that I myself and my husband really try to think through, where is this leading us? What does the next phase look like? And it's so hard on this side of it to see where I think this is going to go. But I 100% know that the legal industry is about to be upended. What that looks like, I can't say. I know from my present experience, I'm using AI in a number of ways. So I have set up a full C-suite of AI agents. I have a CMO, a CFO, a CEO.
Very smart.
And those advisors through Claude tell me every week, what do my numbers look like? What do my receivables look like? What used to be found in dashboards across 3 different places is now being all looked at together. And then I have real-time data to be able to make decisions with, whereas before I have an outsourced CFO, just like I'm outsourced legal counsel. I have outsourced CFO who looks at my numbers and advises me on that front. Lawyers are typically horrible with numbers, and I'm no exception. And my CFO is great, but I get 1 hour with him and he's looking at data in monthly snapshots. Mm-hmm. My CFO agent through Claude is giving me that information every Monday. Either, I have to manually include some reports right now, which is annoying, but It's connected to QuickBooks, and it's not connected to Clio because there's not a Clio connector, which, speaking of things that somebody is going to do to make a lot of money, a Clio connector would be fabulous. But those reports are giving me, what I already pay good money for, but I'm able to get more of that advice. Mm-hmm. Am I going to fire my CFO anytime soon? No, because I actually record those calls with my CFO and I upload those transcripts into my CFO agent who is reviewing that and then making sure that we are, following that overall guidance, because I know what I do know is that AI really is only as good as the person and the knowledge behind it. Mm-hmm. And so it needs guardrails. It needs context. It needs good input in order to get good output from it. The marketing field, what I've been able to do with my CMO is mind-blowing. I couldn't tell you how much I have paid over the years for marketing that produced absolutely nothing. And it was always not for lack of trying, but it was, a process of just throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what hit. And that's a very expensive process. We have a certain amount of budget for marketing and advertising on an annual basis, and it eats through a marketing budget very quickly. And then when no results kind of come out of that project that we did, it's very defeating. Because of Claude, I am able to fully run my own Google pay-per-click ads, my own LinkedIn ads, because I have somebody telling me it's this button, it's this thing. Any time I used to get stopped in my tracks before, I have almost a step-by-step play of what I have to do to get from where I am to where I'm going. I have advice on, the types of headlines that I should be using. I have advice on what the analytics related to the ads mean. And so I'm able to understand the funnel all the way through its life cycle, as opposed to telling somebody what I want to do, getting no response of what I want, and then just getting frustrated, which is what I did for many, many years. So on the marketing landscape, it's crazy what it's doing. From an SEO standpoint, they talk about AI slop, but AI slop is still working. And so we are throwing a lot of AI slop out there, and if it's, as long as it's accurate, we are happy with it. Do I think that that's going to continue? I don't know. I don't know what SEO looks like anymore in this era.
Things are moving into AEO, which is the AI results. Absolutely.
Exactly. And so, when I did I'm doing an AI audit. The CMO is doing an AI audit for me on a monthly basis to say, like, okay, where are we at? Where are we going? What has improved? What hasn't? Now, that's not worked as well as I wanted to. We've used Perplexity a little bit on that front as well. Trying different models because they all kind of have the information that they were given to it as of the date they came online, and knowing that's important because we're making the recommendations that they say for us to get noticed. But then it's not like our next audit is going to show that. It's not going to show that until the next model comes out, or we have new information going into that LLM. Yeah. So all very interesting stuff. From a business standpoint, I don't know if it's almost making me too productive, if that makes sense. Yeah. So there's so much noise with it. I mean, imagine and I'm an entrepreneur, not only, I represent entrepreneurs, really growth stage companies is my ideal target, but they usually have started from an entrepreneur's brain. And so I'm very similarly situated to many of my clients where I've got a million harebrained ideas. And now I have this agentic agent that is able to help me do 50 of them in a day. And that's probably not a good thing. I need to be more strategic. I'm just obsessed. And once you kind of go down the rabbit hole, and see what it can do. It's not like, for a person who likes to be productive, it's hyper productivity, but also it's like, is it hyper productivity, or what are we actually accomplished here? So I don't have any like amazing stories that like AI resulted in a marketing campaign that like blew up. I don't have that. Like, it's not that. It's not that using that CMO has done anything other than help me learn the process, which is what I didn't know before. And so being able to know what the process is, now I'm able to throw a lot more stuff against the wall and just see what the data tells me.
Yeah, there was some great stuff there that you said. One little possibility for you, because you're very, very smart with how you're using using Claude by creating that C-suite. And this is, again, the difference between a more high sophistication application versus just sort of casual use where you're just asking Claude or ChatGPT questions.
Right.
But one thing you could do is, because there's that threat of overextending or dilution with too much information, too many ideas, which become, can have diminishing returns, become counterproductive. You could also begin to train outside management consultant AI to advise on the C-suite, so that you can rein yourself in, right? So that becomes
Right.
kind of your coach. It is fantastic. Like another application, just to give an example of, because I love doing exactly what you're saying personally. Although we're more focused on, solutions, deliverables for clients now, I do have copywriting in my background as a skill set, and I've done quite a bit of it. So this time, I did this experiment a couple years ago with actually doing all the research on some of the best copywriters in the world, specifically around one particular type of copywriting. And so then I created a board of directors of these different experts, all sorts of samples of their writing. And the purpose of the board of directors was to say, we don't want to have this, diluted amalgamation of all their different styles, because that will actually produce a monstrosity, right? Like
Right.
So the board of directors is to say, we're going to basically have all of them come together and agree on the best strategy for this particular campaign.
Yeah.
I had a client say, if you could handle the copywriting for this thing that we want, that would be really helpful. And I said, I can do that. Now, I know I could do that, but it was fascinating to see what was produced. And I iterated it for sure. I was still doing my work. But that would have taken me weeks. And it took me about one solid full day
Wow.
to do all of it, right? From research all the way through to refinement. And
I mean, I think you make such a great point there that you almost need a critical eye. Like, you need Claude to set up another persona to be the critical eye of whatever it is the agents produce, and to then iterate on the criticism that it received by the other persona.
Yeah.
And that's something that my husband's been doing a lot with, and which we had talked a little bit about. He in creating the code that he's doing through Claude Code, he has other agents reviewing the code to say whether or not the code is good code or not code, and give advice or recommendations. And it's fascinating. I hadn't thought of kind of creating that function for the C-suites, but I should.
Yeah, it's so
I guess I've been the critical eye, right? And
right,
maybe
yeah.
that's not the best.
But now you have yours too. So you've got the doer bots, you've got the manager bots, and then you've got the sort of ideation bots, right? And then you have a mix of all those. That's very powerful.
Yeah.
So a few tidbits for people.
Very interesting.
Also, when it comes to the search, this is where I think Gemini is very likely to win on that domain, because they are beginning to de-index some search results, because they know that things are starting to, or have been moving from SEO to AEO. So because all of the other LLMs pull from Google for search, All of a sudden, imagine if what that will look like if Google does mass de-indexing of search results. So meaning those aren't going to be accessible to AI, and now who controls the whole search game? So that's another little thing that we'll see how that plays out.
And what are you thinking, Stephen? What do you think? I mean, you're saying you think Gemini might end up kind of on top with that game, but if you were advising a client like me, I mean, that's something I'm really interested in, is how do I show up in those search results? I know we're showing up there now because clients call in and say, ChatGPT told me about you, or I heard about you from Grok is what I heard yesterday, which was a new one that I hadn't heard of before. I hadn't shown up in a call before. What is your advice? I mean, I've sat through a number of trainings where they, advise on how to be showing up in these, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not, personally speaking, I'm not the biggest AEO expert. Honestly, just something I have people do for me. I haven't taken the time to go down and nail that, but I'm just more broadly interested on what's happening there, where things are moving, and that right now SEO still matters, but in the near future, I think the first principle here is it's going to matter much less.
Right.
Because as search gravitates more and more to the AI, which you're already seeing even with a Google search, like what are most people looking at now? They're looking at the AI, overview, even in standard Google, not just Gemini.
Yeah.
And so that's that, and people are using ChatGPT and using Claude and the others for search. So I think Grok is a little bit unique insofar as it's able to pull not only from Google, but it's pulling from the fact that you have this biggest community, like biggest world town square, which is X. So that makes that a little bit unique. But for all the others that are pulling a lot of their search indexing from Google, it makes sense. You really want to make sure that your business is seen online. So I think that we'll see that increasing in terms of adoption.
Yeah.
As all sorts of businesses now are going to be probably laggard stage catching up and going like, oh, we need to invest a little bit of time here, making sure that we are, showing up on those results. But right now it's almost, I think it's very akin to people that were kind of laggard stage on needing a website many years ago.
Right.
Or doing SEO, because by the time the early movers already had not only a website, but now had done, say, conversion optimization on their website, then you had the laggard stage people going, I guess I need a website.
Right.
And they don't even know the difference between an optimized website or one that's just basically, a sign for your business, right?
Right.
So they're going to be playing catch up. And then as people already had realized they needed to have some conversion optimization on their website, others had already gone and had dominated with SEO. So they're playing now catch up. I think I need SEO. And I see that cycle plays out over and over again.
Every single time.
And that's what will happen with this.
So here I am for the first time in my life seeing that this is the next thing, this is the next frontier, and knowing that I'm an early adopter. Where I'm stuck is knowing, okay, I know I'm an early adopter. I know this is the next greatest thing. I'm thinking about all of the ways that I can use this to advance the firm, to advance, putting our firm in front of the right eyes when they're looking. But I still, it's that next level of seeing, what does this new era look like? What does this new world look like that I haven't been able to really grasp yet. And I don't know how many people that have. Right. I do know, I follow Tim Ferriss. I don't know if you've read The 4-Hour Work Week,
yes.
But one of my gurus. I absolutely adore Tim Ferriss. And he has done so many podcasts on this topic, what he thinks, speaking with people about what they think the future looks like. And I think obviously like personal content, on brand content is the name of the game. Mm-hmm. And so that's the direction that we're moving is, I hate doing these types of things where I'm on camera and talking to people and having this moment because I am always the person who's like, oh, I don't like how I look, or I don't like how that came across or how that sounded. But I do think that in order to be at the frontier of what the next advantage is, it requires content. And people who are creating content right now are going to be in kind of the driver's seat of what they're able to do with what's coming down.
Absolutely. Right. And then, so that's on the front end of things. And then on the back end, for sure, it is the big play. And I see this especially in the legal domain is efficiency. So
Yes.
just, the degree or extent to which you can have efficiencies. Now you can begin to, like, there's no question hiring people is still going to be part of the game, but these are going to be people who are AI enabled.
Yes.
Increasingly.
And who understand AI and understand and are personally passionate about it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I interview somebody now, the question is not just like, do you know what AI is, but like, what have you done with AI? Give me an example of something you've built, something you've set up, and when the answer is like, oh, well, I just use Chat GPT, like, sorry, like I'm looking for something more.
Yeah, very interesting you say that. But that is where things are going. But there's so much opportunity to be able to become more profitable and to scale without necessarily having to increase headcount in the way that one did before. Now,
and it's been my biggest roadblock from a business perspective, from a firm perspective, is adding headcount, adding other attorneys, adding paralegals. I have a team that works phenomenally well together. And I know that this team can produce, at least $1 million in gross revenue annually. I would love for us to be able to produce 1.5, but I don't want to add another body, because as soon as I add another body, the team dynamics get really messed up. Mm-hmm. We end up kind of off kilter, or we're, spending a lot of time on team dynamics. And so to keep the team that we have that works well together, but get greater efficiency and productivity, 100% makes us much more able to get to that next revenue level. Right. But yes, I mean, we were talking today about AI receptionists. Be curious to hear your thoughts on that. Presently I have kind of an outsourced receptionist. The whole goal of the receptionist is really just take the information, the issue down, and then it goes into our CRM. And then my paralegal calls that person back kind of in a order of like how important or how close of a match this client is to what we do. Mm-hmm. She prioritizes, if somebody calls and says, I need a trademark, she calls them back immediately. Like, that's a number one, pants on fire. This person needs to be called. We need to talk to them immediately. And she gets that message instantly through the way that our receptionists handle that. Mm-hmm. But our receptionist is not an in-team person anyways. So the question is, do we try to go AI, which I don't know, like if I were to call and somebody had an AI receptionist, and ultimately the differences between the AI receptionist and the other receptionist is just they ask the exact same questions, but one is live and one is not. I don't think I care that much. But I don't know. It'll be interesting. And that's kind of one of the things we're pondering right now, because I'm spending $1,000 a month for receptionists that do nothing other than take a potential client's name, email address, and issue.
Right. I mean, one of the things there that's worth thinking about is you mentioned it's pretty much standardized on the information you need to collect. So really what it comes down to is, can you get that and also have that instantaneous engagement? Because even if an AI were to field that, but there's going to be that inquiry, but there's going to be a human follow-up afterwards, which may be important for your business, your type of law. Really, the main thing there is that there's a precipitous drop off in conversion with a prospect based on the amount of time that goes by before they're meaningfully engaged.
Of
So
course. And we understand that, but we are, and we are mostly a B2B business. We are not B2C.
right.
And so the people that are calling into the law firm are typically not the ideal client persona that we're looking for.
Right.
It doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It happens all the time that we get calls from clients who have read a blog post, who have, done things, seen things on LinkedIn and are looking to connect with us. Typically, we have other means by which they contact us, but when they call in, which is just interesting in and of itself, right? Like the type of client who picks up the phone to call versus another type of client who almost never calls, right? They most always email. I mean, our ideal client is more of an emailer and less of a pick up the phone and call type of a person. But that being said, there are areas that we service, like trademarks is a good one, where just the average consumer might find us based on advertising or whatever, and maybe they didn't go down our funnel properly and actually call us instead. And those people should get priority. And the question is, that's a pretty decent size service. Our trademark services start at $2,500 and kind of go to $3,500. So it's certainly a good potential lead that we want to not lose. But Nicole's going to be calling them back very quickly. Like I said, that is really where what the advantage is that the message is almost always taken, and then somebody's calling them back, and we're trying to get back in touch with them right away. But yeah, it's all very interesting to think through and think about from the intake perspective. And intake is something I spend quite a bit of thought and time on because, as you suggested, it is a very important part of a law firm's cycle.
Absolutely. Let me swing over and ask you, you've already spoken a little bit about this at the beginning, but what would you say that your firm really does extraordinarily well that maybe separates you from others in your same areas of specialty?
I do think that it's our mindset. I started this law firm I came from a large law firm that was very bureaucratic and that was entrepreneurial in the 80s, but had turned into a very top heavy, old school type of firm who made their clients write checks for their bills, who didn't offer the ability to set an appointment through Calendly. Very simple things that from my perspective were ridiculous. If I was somebody needing legal advice quickly, that would be the absolute worst route to take. And so, understanding that we had the advantage from a technology perspective, I left my firm and I actually moved on to a sailboat with my husband, and we sailed the Gulf of Mexico for about 18 months.
Oh, wow.
And that was the impetus for actually leaving the firm, is because they would never have accepted the notion that I could work from a sailboat. So I founded the firm on the premise that I could work from anywhere in the world as long as I had my computer and I had my phone and I had internet. And ultimately, that was kind of a digital nomad lifestyle before that was a thing. This was in 2016. And so everything, starting the firm at that time and being in that position and understanding finally, before I had given advice to clients, but had never done the thing myself. And it felt inauthentic. Now I'm on the other side of that. I've done the thing myself. I've built a business myself. I do it every day. And so I'm in a different place advising businesses who have done the same thing, and I feel more authentic in giving that advice. And then things that annoy me, in my business, I know would annoy my clients, and we just try to not do those things. I don't do subscriptions. I think that they're the number one thing that drives me crazy. And so I don't do subscriptions. My concept is meet with me when and as often as you can, but it is, you're not going to get charged on a monthly basis regardless. It's going to be when we have delivered work and value.
Excellent. What sort of stage right now, because you advise on this, so you would know very, very well, what sort of growth stage would you say that the firm is in right now? And what are you looking to grow to in, say, the next 12 months?
So our goal is actually not growth related. I mean, we certainly are looking to grow revenue, but we are not looking to grow headcount. And so we are in a growth stage from a productivity standpoint. We're looking to, fill that funnel as much as possible and put as much work on the table as the three of us can handle. But we also are not looking to grow revenue by just adding more people. There's a number of lawyers that I follow who have built, firms of 50 plus people and millions of dollars, and realized that that was not for them. And I think that I have realized that that's not for me. I am probably not the best at managing others. It's one of my shortcomings. And realizing that, that's not a strength that I have. I like the team that I'm with. I think our team can do easily double what we're doing right now. And so, it's maintaining profitability. We have 33% profitability right now, which is great. But just increasing that revenue number so that the profitability number grows.
Excellent. Hypothetically, if you could wave a magic wand and fix anything in the business right now that might be a limiting constraint or some sort of challenge, what would that be?
What is a constraint? I mean, I think where I'm at and where I've kind of been stuck at for the past couple of years is marketing. Marketing on a B2B level is not for the faint of heart. And so one of the things that I'm using AI for really is to grow that top of the funnel. And I see my CMO, agentic agent, my Claude CMO, as being the tool that's going to help me get there.
Great. Where I like to always wind up on, as we've discussed your firm, we've discussed some really broad concepts today with agentic AI and other AI applications and growth and all that stuff, is bringing it back to the human. What would you say is your personal motivation aside from business success that gets you excited to do what you do every day?
I think at the end of the day, it's helping people. I mean, it's as simple as that. I went into the practice of law because at the end of the day, I like helping people. And lawyers allow people to navigate a complex system, the complex system of legal and laws, but also the complex system of people, negotiating. There's so many different layers to what a lawyer is able to do and the value of the advice that they bring in helping people navigate those various situations. And so it just comes down to helping people. I think we look for opportunities in the business on a regular basis to figure out how we could help people. One of the ways is simply when we do get those calls from people where we know that it's legally challenging that they will ever find somebody to be able to help them because their case is too small or, the legal system is too expensive. We really sometimes just say, like, you're right. This was an injustice. This is something that shouldn't have been done. And so, yes, we're just going to write that demand letter for you and we're going to hope for the best. We're going to think maybe there will be a good response. Can't promise it, but maybe we can get the needle to move for you. And so we look for those opportunities. We talk about them with my team. If there is a call or a potential client that calls in and has a situation that at the end of the day, human to human, we should help assist them with, we use this firm to take those cases. And we use the profitability from the other things that do make the money to allow us to serve the public in that way when we can.
Excellent. How can people best contact you to find out more about your services?
Our website is always great, www.lawgroup.biz. You could call us, although again, we talked about that's my least favorite approach. 504-446-6506 or email at abutler@lawgroup.biz, or my paralegal who is always ready to assist, and it's paralegal@lawgroup.biz.
Fantastic. And I'll make sure that goes in the description of
Perfect.
the video as well. There was some great stuff today, Amanda. I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
Excellent. Take care.